Okay, today I'm going to show you a prophecy that I was given about 1.5 years ago about the Lassen eruption in California, and that it is a lamp for his anointed to reveal who they are and the new energy coming, the big E and what it is, and the tree of life and how this is being hidden in plain sight by the elite that don't want you to know that the end of days are even near because they're running out of time. Okay, here we go.
Keeping a close eye on Hawaii's Kilauea volcano and the levels of molten rock deep inside. Experts warn more destructive lava flows could soon hit the Big Island. 15 large fissures have opened up since the volcano erupted 8 days ago. Dozens of homes have been destroyed and thousands of people were forced to evacuate. We have our fair share of volcanoes here in California, but they are very different from the types of volcanoes in Hawaii and a lot more dangerous.
As a matter of fact, the California Volcano Observatory has 3 in the highest risk category of very high threat. CBS 13's Lisa Meadows is in the newsroom tonight getting answers on what exactly that means. Lisa?
Yes, Tony and Christina, there are 20 volcanic regions across the state of California, but only a few are active and cause a real threat.
Most of the ones here in the West are explosive volcanoes.
Northern California is no stranger to volcanoes, although it's been a while since one has blown.
The last eruption in California was in 1915, Lassen Peak, and it had a series of explosive eruptions.
And now with millions more people living in the danger zone, how catastrophic will it be when one erupts?
If it decides to erupt big, it will catch the world's attention.
Scientists have categorized 3 of our volcanoes as very high threat: Mount Shasta, Mount Lassen, and the Long Valley region near Mammoth Lakes. So what does that mean? It means these areas have a high population, lots of nearby infrastructure like dams, power plants, and a high volume of aircraft that fly in the area.
All these potentially active volcanoes, there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of jumbo jets that fly over these every day.
The scale only examines potential damage, not timing. Geologists have a network of sensors to monitor volcanic activity, and many communities have disaster response plans in place.
That's really the best thing that can be done, because there's no stopping a volcanic eruption once it starts.
And eruptions like this may not be as far away as you think.
It's very likely that sometime in the near future, perhaps even in our lifetimes, it will erupt again.
I know this prophecy was just in the last video, but it is important that you understand where it comes in. Here we go.
And a season of undercover, where I will bring out from the covers the truth. For there have been too many lies, one lie after the other, covered in high national positions that have affected the globe, that have affected the seas, they've affected the skies. America, you're not as secure as you think you are. But in my kingdom, there are people that are praying, and there are prophetic words and the truth from my word that will preserve my nations for the purpose of extending my light to the next generation, says the Lord. There are 2 E's that I see. One E is the word erupt. The other is earthquake. Many are prophesying about earthquakes, but there is a national park where there is an eruption under the earth, for it to come out, and many say it is just simply an eruption, but it is not. It is a sign that I shall contain that which would try and be destructive in this nation. A volcano as a sign. And then there will be another earthquake, says the Lord. Keep your eyes open, for this sign is to cause the earth to yield of its produce, that the great E may come forth rapidly. This is my promise, says the Lord. Therefore take heed today, as you come to me and strike the rock, I will release that which has been held back from you and cause triumph to be sounded in your mouths, says the Lord. Come on.
Saturday, July 28th, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, we are officially 9 days into this unique planetary arrangement. We've been talking about this for over a year now. This is the current position of all the planets parked behind the sun, actually to the right of the sun. July 28th, 2018 will be like this until the first week of September. All of the planets will be sharing one side of the sun, including Pluto and many of the dwarf planets. This has only occurred 6 times in the last 120 years. 5 of those 6 times saw increased volcanic activity on planet Earth.
Summer reaches to spring, and to fall. I will be the mediator, says summer. I will uncover, I will defend, my sun will shine, but yet beneath the earth, there is a rage. Eruptions, summer says, why choose they me?
Prepare for all sorts of stuff. Hey, hold on, everybody, put on the brakes. Look at the screen. Look what I'm getting ready to show you. Much love to all my people out in California, Oregon, Nevada, Idaho, Washington, Utah. Here, wait till you see what's going on, guys. 1/4 of the United, or let's say 1/5 of the United States is on fire. Do you see what's going on here? Do you see what's happening out in California? That's not clouds. That's not clouds, guys. This is wildfire activity that's breaking out, and it started right where our volcanoes and our slow slip was happening. Redding, Southwest Oregon, and look at that. I have never in my life, in all the wildfires I've ever seen such a great breakout all at once. And it's not just there. I mean, here, let me bring it back and show you. We've got it going on in Idaho. We've got it going on in northwest Utah. We've got it going on over here in Wyoming. We've got it going on all across California. California's mountains, California's west coast. We got it going on up here in southwest Oregon, and look what's going on up here in Washington. Where the hell did that come from? Look, it's just all of a sudden everywhere. And it's the greatest amount of smoke I've ever seen in my life. And that is a tremendous amount. I mean, this makes the other wildfires that we saw a few years ago, guys, look like, like a walk in the park. They said 80,000 or more acres concurrently burning. Oh, up here at the border, too. Look, at the Canada-Washington border right up there at the top. Hopefully, you guys see all this. Okay, so what can I say? We've got ourselves a little bit of an issue, and that's just the ones I can see. I'm sure there are others that are breaking out in here that... oh yeah, they're down here in Nevada. Look, even the desert. This is right next to our nuclear test sites, guys. That's right next to that is the nuke. You know what? Look at that in southwest Nevada. We got to go in and zoom in on this some more. It's just so strange that these all popped off originally. Oh, and Anza Gap down to the south. Here's Southern California. Let's show you what's going on down here. You see this? So here is Nevada, and our nuclear test site is right next to this, guys. Ooh, that's not good. So take a look at it. We've got ourselves this. Oh, look what's going on down here in Arizona. Look at that. Wow. Well, I hate to be I'm not trying to exaggerate too hard, but it's not every day. No, not even every day. It's not every decade you'll get to see something like this, guys. So when we're seeing this, and we've got so many people out there, and then let's go look over here in Nevada. One more time. Southwest Oregon, Northern California, and Reno. Oh, Reno's on fire? Look at that. That's right next to Casimirio. Uh-oh. That's just north of Sparks, right here. I've got a buddy who climbed the mountain there at Sunflower, just north of Lake Tahoe. That's right next to him. Holy crap. Look at this. And look at over in northwest Utah at the Nevada border. Look at that. Going over Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is about to be just blacked out. And you can imagine the air quality on this isn't going up. This is going up high, but this is surface level, guys. We're talking surface level, then going up into a higher altitude. And look at our cloud seeding going on above the storms there. So they're clearly going to be trying to suppress that. But I'll tell you what, up here in, look up in Idaho, man. Look at that. So these are our spots that we're getting hit by earthquakes. It's the freakiest thing in the world. I don't want to say that it's tied to it, but we have to bring that up. You need to have an earthquake plan. You need to have an emergency plan. You need to have an emergency kit and supplies for in your house in case you have to shelter in place. Or you need to have an evacuation plan, which I would always recommend to have, a place to go outside of your state in case something happens, or a place to go somewhere else in the state.
Psalm 132. Lord, remember David in all his afflictions, how he sware unto the Lord and vowed unto the mighty God of Jacob. Surely I will not come into the tabernacle of my house, nor go up into my bed. I will not give sleep to mine eyes, or slumber to mine eyelids, until I find out a place for the Lord, an habitation for the mighty God of Jacob. Lo, we heard of it at Ephratah, we found it in the fields of the wood. We will go into his tabernacles, we will worship at his footstool. Arise, O Lord, into thy rest, thou and the ark of thy strength. Let thy priests be clothed with righteousness, and let thy saints shout for joy. For thy servant David's sake, turn not away the face of thine anointed. The Lord hath sworn in truth unto David, he will not turn from it. Of the fruit of thy body will I set upon thy throne. If thy children will keep my covenant and my testimony that I shall teach them, their children shall also sit upon thy throne for evermore. For the Lord hath chosen Zion, he hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest for ever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provision. I will satisfy her poor with bread. I will also clothe her priests with salvation, and her saints shall shout aloud for joy. There will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for mine anointed. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish.
It's not affected. And if you don't have something like that, you could even have a campground that you select in another state that you're going to go to. You say, look, if it hits the fan here, we're going to get the camp stuff, and we're going to go 2 states over down to the southeast, far away from the smoke, and ride it out. Now, the smoke would just be something that would drive you out of your house. It wouldn't be something that would destroy your structure. Now, the fires themselves, another thing entirely. Much love to everybody out there, and I don't have an answer for you other than to tell you, how could it happen? How could it happen? How could earthquakes be related to fires breaking out next to volcanoes and slow slope locations? Well, I'm going to show you one example. Methane, Hawaii, Dutchsinse. Hopefully this will bring... Yeah, there it is. There we go. Watch this. This is a video I have from 2014 out in Hawaii. Now, this is with lava right below the surface. Now, watch this. You see that? Here, let me rewind it again. Turn the sound on. Did you see the rock there and everything blow up? The whole ground shifted up and came back down. Now, I do it in a slow-mo. This is methane and nitrates in the ground, just like almost like fertilizer kind of, but boom, ignited by heat coming up from lava far over to, you know, a quarter mile away or so. Okay. Now imagine a quarter mile below the surface, we get the same amount of heat coming up, and it interacts with small amounts of methane, or, you know, there's a lot of old conifer needles that make up the soil in the mountains, really dry. Next thing you know, you get a slight ignition, pops up, clear day, can't explain it other than it's next to a volcano. Or a spot that's experiencing extreme slow slip, like what we've been talking about here. Take a look at the last 48 hours. See all these red dots? A spattering of red dots now going up the entire coast. Not up for debate, going up the entire coast, but it was going on down here at Medford no more than 3 days ago.
Why do the tornadoes, the hurricanes choose me? I am summer. I bring smiles. I bring sunshine. I bring warmth. Yet there is a tumultuous rendering that is coming. I stand to protect spring, but fall, you are rebelling. Or is it that possibly the Spirit of God will cause many to fall in fall?
We're on track to hit the highest annual average growth rate in over 13 years. And I will say this right now, and I'll say it strongly, as the trade deals come in one by one, we're going to go a lot higher than these numbers, and these are great numbers. Once again, we are the economic envy of the entire world. When I meet the leaders of countries, the first thing they say invariably is, Mr. President, so nice to meet you. Congratulations on your economy. Since I was elected, we've added 400,000 new manufacturing jobs. Remember, that was the obsolete deal. Obsolete. I used to say, why is it obsolete? We have to make things. Manufacturing jobs are among our best jobs. And we're just getting started.
That he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
Because I want you to tell your friends, don't let a friend vote Trump. So here's the deal. He can't escape the math. Now, you know, math can be kind of inconvenient if it doesn't add up the way you want it to. And economists, left, right, in the middle, all say the same thing. That Trump's policies would throw us into a recession, the last thing we need. He would undermine the growth that we've had since the Great Recession.
In the event Donald wins, I have no doubt in my mind the market tanks.
His tax plan, in combination with his refusal to reform entitlements and to honestly address spending, would balloon the deficit and the national debt. So even though Donald Trump has offered very few specific economic plans, what little he has said is enough to know that he would be very bad for American workers and for American families.
And then there was Paul Krugman, a Nobel Prize winning economist, writing for the New York Times. Let me say that again. He's a Nobel Prize winning economy, and here's what he said. The stock market will plummet and never recover from the election of Donald Trump. So we are very probably looking at a global recession with no end in sight. You know, some are so blinded by their hatred of Donald Trump that they forget decades of training in their own field. And as America surges forward with more jobs than people to fill them, with African American and Hispanic unemployment the lowest in history, with millions coming off of food stamps because they want to work, the left, well, they rant and protest and create chaos. They throw people out of restaurants and off television shows. They even go to church and say that God sent them to destroy Donald Trump. The left doesn't care about our economic success. All they want to do is make noise. But it's nothing more than background noise, white noise. The truth? Nobody's paying attention to them. Donald Trump's numbers continue to increase. His popularity just keeps going up. And after he met with Putin and was accused of everything from collusion to treason, an offense, by the way, punishable by death, his numbers continue to go up.
Now, it's become a running theme. Trump defies the critics again and again. In the latest example, well, the fairly stunning GDP numbers that dropped earlier this morning. But it was no surprise to me, like clockwork, the media are doing their level best to downplay the great news.
1 quarter of growth does not a transformed economy make. As we all know, the numbers bounce around a lot from quarter to quarter.
It's good to see, but will it last?
Yeah, exactly.
President Trump is going to take a lot of credit for these good numbers. Don't believe him. It's a lot of people who bought things because they're worried about his tariffs, and a lot of false growth from tax cuts juicing the economy.
I actually heard people saying it was all Obama's economy. They sound, all of them, really excited about this chance for more American success, don't they?
Then there is the earth that wishes to tremble. Shake! For the nations of the earth stand waiting. He is quiet. He shall not return. This God is too quiet. But my mercy endures forever. However, there is an uncovering of great evil. And I will start from the top. I have shaken the Democrats and will shake the Republicans even more. But remember, when these tremors and when these tumultuous moments happen, Summer says, I will take it so that the fall can do its work in America. The auto industry of this nation shall rise, and they shall disappoint the expectations of the East. And they shall say, what do they have? Why does America still prosper? Princes of darkness and demonic powers are raging for these two extremely wicked terror organizations to be pierced with the sword of the Lord. Summer, take it. For thus says the Lord, I will prosper my people. And during the fall there shall be many that shall fall, and many that shall rise from the dust. The earth is standing prepared. I shall take it, for the summer shall bring forth much in the temperatures. Strange July, hypnotic November, and oh Christmas, where winter shall say, and me, I will make them happy. For God says, I have chosen each season to manifest something. My will shall be done. And it shall come to pass that I shall bring sign after sign. And in the fall, that which comes down is that which was able to be shaken. And I will build and release the resources. And in the fall, will show you whom I have chosen to pray for and guide this nation. You shall rejoice, for it is my man. It is my chosen David, says the Lord. Come on!
at that beautiful rainbow over in Hawaii right now. Well, we need to see something like that. I wish people in California and the West Coast were seeing rainbows right about now, from precipitation, that is. All right, well, all this ties together. This earthquake here at a volcano, let me show it to you, Mount Hood. Have you ever heard of Mount Hood? It's a stratovolcano. You know, all the ones around it get all the publicity. Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, down to the south. Of course, we have several, Mount Shasta in California. This is Mount Hood. So it's right on the flanks of Mount Hood, a small little earthquake as the volcanoes are shifting. Up to the north, Mount Rainier getting hit right at the base of the volcano, 25 kilometers east of Eatonville, Washington. So I can just keep showing you these all night. What you're going to see is most of the locations are volcanic, with a few drill points and fault zones connecting between the drill points and the volcanoes. I know this from 8 years of observation and nightly reporting on that 8-year time frame. Here we go. Mount Rainier getting hit again on the edge. We were right below the crater before. You remember? We were right here inside the crater. Now we've gone outside the crater, around the flanks of the volcano, like a circus tent top. First the center rises, then the outside edges rise. One more time, let's jump back to the real-time tremor map. Well, what's going on here? All these little spatterings of tremors letting us know Washington, Oregon, Northern California, all moving on the same basis. Nothing up in Vancouver, and down to the south, earthquake swarms across California. It's all going to be going over, it's all going to be going over to the east, and this is going to be impacting into the Midwest United States in the next few days. The whole plate is displacing right now.
Coming up on Inside Look.
California is not only earthquake country, it is also volcano country.
More than 500 volcanic vents have been identified in the state of California.
We know that there's a chance that they will occur, but we're not able to say exactly why.
We're going inside California's earthquake, tsunami, and volcano program this week on Inside Look. Welcome to Inside Look. I'm Brian May, and what you see behind me is 100% pure California. It is just absolutely beautiful, isn't it? But what our eyes can see on the surface only tells half the story. We know that California is home to earthquakes, but did you also know that we are a state home to volcanoes? Should we be worried? And how much notice would we get if there were to be an eruption? It's time to start answering those questions. We begin our coverage with Sean Boyd.
Lassen Peak. Its beauty belies its simmering potential. It is at the top of the state's volcano watch list.
The volcano is still very much active. That's why we have these wonderful hydrothermal areas.
California is not only earthquake country, it is also volcano country.
Dr. Maggie Mangan is the scientist in charge at the USGS California Volcano Observatory in Menlo Park.
The threat is real, and the potential for another volcanic eruption in the state of California is on the order of 1 in 100 to about 1 in a couple thousand in any given year.
Would you buy a lottery ticket with those odds? Well, those odds are why the USGS monitors all 8 volcanoes in the watch list. Lassen Peak and Mount Shasta in the north, and Long Valley Caldera east of Yosemite are California's high-threat volcanoes. Monitoring stations at the volcanoes themselves gather seismic and gas readings, along with data on changes in land topography, then streams it all in real time to this operations room at the observatory. Scientists also watch the molten rock, or magma, flowing 3 miles below Lassen Peak.
We keep a watch on that because if we start to see anything migrating toward the surface, it might suggest that the magmatic system is going to be replenished, and that could provoke an eruption.
Dr. Mike Klin has studied Lassen Peak since 1975. Lassen last erupted in May of 1915, miraculously captured on film. There were no known deaths and only a few minor injuries. But should Lassen or Shasta blow today, and it will,
it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
The results would be more complicated and concerning depending on the severity and the other conditions like weather. But it would not take us by surprise.
It's likely that you would see weeks to months of warning.
Scientists learn a lot from history. It is a determined odds maker.
The number of volcanic eruptions that occur within the state of California in just the last 1,000 years are about the same as the number of large damaging earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault. We take that hazard seriously. We need to take the volcano hazard seriously.
All right, thanks, Sean. So what's being done to monitor the volcanoes in California? How do we know that we'll know before the next eruption? With more on Cal OES's role in volcano monitoring, here's Jonathan Goodell.
Thanks, Brian. If there's anything that we've learned about volcanoes, it's that they're impulsive. When and where they may erupt is virtually impossible to predict. What we do know is that monitoring is being done around the clock to ensure public safety.
Tracking indicators such as GPS, seismometers, and other tools provide experts with a realistic assessment of when a volcano may erupt. Warnings could spare residents a few days, weeks, and maybe months, even as threats rise.
There's a notification process that we use with our federal partners, which rise all the way from an advisory up to an imminent warning.
Through the Earthquake, Tsunami, and Volcano Program, Cal OES monitors reports from the USGS, including low-magnitude earthquakes. Over time, those earthquakes could be an inclination of an impending volcanic eruption.
We work very closely with our scientific partners at the California Geologic Survey and the U.S. Geologic Survey to really understand what the hazard is. So that includes digging in deep to like what the mapping is right now, and also learning about what the implications would be once a volcano eruption were to occur and how that would impact not only the local communities but the secondary and tertiary cascading impacts that could happen as a result of a volcanic eruption.
What can be done to minimize impacts to your family and home? First, be aware of any surrounding volcanoes and how close you are to them. Also, review your homeowner's insurance policy, be aware of warning sirens, and create an emergency evacuation plan as well as an emergency kit. Because the odds of the next volcanic eruption happening, well, even for the experts, it's just too unpredictable.
There are some volcanic eruptions where it could be tens of thousands of years in between when the last one erupted. So we're still continuing to be vigilant and making sure we're monitoring and staying on top of all the latest science so we can be prepared for when that day does happen.
Here are some interesting facts about volcanoes. Did you know Kilauea in Hawaii is the most dangerous volcano in the world, with 61 eruptions since 1893? The largest volcanic eruption on record was Toba in Indonesia, thought to have erupted 73,000 years ago. It released more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of material and created a caldera 100 kilometers long and 30 kilometers wide. The United States ranks third behind Indonesia and Japan in the number of historically active volcanoes. And there are 65 volcanoes in the United States, with 8 of those in California alone. And lastly, Mount St. Helens was the most destructive eruption in U.S. history, occurring in 1980 in Washington State.
Lisa and Golston, we're in the Sunset West neighborhood of Redding. This is a very nice neighborhood with a lot of big, beautiful homes, and this was one of them. You can see that this brick walking path is still standing, but the rest of the home is gone. A neighbor tells me the fire came up this gully that you see behind the house, just raced up there and began destroying homes. We had a chance earlier to give you some other looks at the neighborhood. This afternoon we drove through the subdivision. We saw about a dozen homes at least that had been lost to this fire. Several gas lines that hadn't been turned off yet, shooting fire into the air in places. You could really get a sense of the randomness of the fire as it tore through here around 9 last night. A short time ago, we had a chance to speak with a homeowner named Thor Johnson, who made a very risky and dangerous decision not to evacuate last night. Instead, he stayed and used a garden hose to protect his home. He described how unpredictable the fire became as it raced up the gully at the end of his cul-de-sac.
The problem with the house, it explodes. There's the propane, the gas, and that was the scariest part. Hearing these houses blow up is insane. But it blew all my redwood trees got burned up. This thing, when it crowns, that thing, it's 60, 70 feet in the air, and it's throwing sparks everywhere.
I just want to emphasize that firefighters did come through last night and gave the evacuation order for everyone in this neighborhood, and I'm told it was at least about an hour before the fire got here, so they did have a fair amount of notice to be able to get out, and certainly CAL FIRE does not recommend anyone do what that man did. He said he decided to stick around in part because he has a little bit of firefighting experience in his background, but still, it was a very dangerous and risky choice that he made to try to save his home.
Well, getting a breakout of fires that seems to only happen, it's happened in the winter, it's happened in the spring, it's happened in the fall, it's happened in the summer, when we have big seismic events. When we get big seismic events, all of a sudden, we get these huge wildfire outbreaks. It's very strange. It's happened enough. Like I said, it's happened over 14 or 15 times that I've been keeping track. So if and I haven't been keeping track of all of them, but you can see the amount here. Let me just put this back and forth, roll it back and forth. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. So look in the Northwest. I mean, nobody's even talking about the Northwest, but clearly we got a big fire right at the U.S. border, right up here. So if that's going on, and look at the rest of the location. Where's the rest of that smoke coming from? Where's it all coming from? Look at it. It just comes out of nowhere. Just fills up the valleys across the Puget Sound, fills up across all of Washington, and it's not like there's some kind of massive fire up there. It's just smoke appears out of nowhere. And then down to the south, same thing. It goes all across Idaho. Now that's going up to a higher level, but even then, where is it all coming from to the north? I can just tell you, it's the most I've ever seen. And with this amount breaking out in the spots where the earthquakes are happening, I don't think any professional is going to come out and tell you they think it might be heat coming up causing the fires on a clear day without any storms or any lightning anywhere nearby. I can tell you all the smoke is going to be going downstream, and everybody in the Midwest, let's say if you're in Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, guys, we're all going to be getting this smoke. The smoke is going to be actually increasing severe weather in the Midwest. There's this amount of particulate matter that goes into the atmosphere when it mixes with moisture or humidity. It will attract water molecules, and it will form into water droplets very quickly. With this, like think of geoengineering, what they would call cloud seeding, but this is just something much more vast. Like not even nuclear test would be this big. Serious. So it's a big deal. I'm making a big deal about it because it is a big deal to get 4 or 5 states burning at once in a smoke plume the size of Nevada. Wow. Have an earthquake plan, but also have an emergency plan. Your emergency plan should be 1, shelter in place. 2, if you have to leave, you should have a place to go. You should know what's outside and have, again, this pretty much a well-oiled machine in your mind. You don't have to actually physically go through the plan of getting in your car and going to somebody else's house to do a plan for this. I'm just talking about thinking about what you would do if you got this placed and you had to move, or if they say to you, look, smoke is incoming, no fire, this is smoke from 150 miles away, but it's the thickest we've ever seen. You're going to need to board up your windows, or tape up your windows and go inside and put the air conditioning on, recycle, and hope for the best. Well, that's when your emergency kit comes in handy, and you might need, if you live out west, masks of some kind, breathing apparatus. Think of your pets. My God, there's so many angles on this. It's a big deal. It's really a big deal. Oh boy, have a plan and be prepared is, I guess, the best point of order on this. Time now is 11:17 p.m. Central Time.